Lithuania is standing up for Taiwan, despite China pulling its ambassador from Lithuania. More on that in today's show.
Staś Butler speaks with Bonnie Glaser, a prominent U.S.-China expert, on U.S. President Biden's first arms sale to Taiwan.
And as Taiwan's vaccines are running short, what options do people who got their first jab have?
Finally, I'm going to tell you about a dinosaur that got vaccinated. That's right, I said dinosaur. This is Taiwan Insider.
Today we're going to talk about two of Taiwan's friends, Lithuania and the United States. Now they've both donated vaccines to Taiwan and we're very grateful for that. And Lithuania has been standing up for Taiwan in a big way. Let's take a look at this report.
Taiwan has already sent Lithuania a gift of cream puffs as a token of thanks after the country gave Taiwan a donation of COVID-19 vaccine doses. Taiwan's foreign minister, Joseph Wu, said that Taiwan would set up a representative office in Vilnius, Lithuania. What's more, Lithuania is even taking the bold step of letting Taiwan's office in its capital use the word Taiwan in its official title, much to Beijing's ire. It is China's first diplomatic ally to do so. China is not taking it well. Upon hearing the news, China recalled its ambassador to Lithuania and demanded that Lithuania withdraw its ambassador to Beijing as well. Taiwan's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Joanne Oh said Lithuania's firm protection of its national dignity and freedom is admirable. She said Taiwan's new representative office aims to build closer ties with the Baltic nation in the areas of trade, technology, education, and culture. Lawmaker Luo Zizhen says China's zero-sum game is forcing other countries to choose between Taiwan and China. This goes against global expectations, as every country has the right to decide how they want to build ties with other nations. Lithuania's foreign ministry said it regrets Beijing's decision and is determined to develop mutually beneficial relations with Taiwan.
Now, Lithuania is being a great friend to Taiwan. It's the first of Beijing's diplomatic allies that is letting us use the name Taiwanese Representative Office. Now, what name do we use in other countries? Well, in the EU, it's the Taipei Representative Office. In South Korea, it's the Taipei Mission. In many places like the US, it's the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office. So all of them have the word Taipei rather than Taiwan or Taiwanese. Now, the US has even spoken out in support of Lithuania on this. Ned Price, the US State Department spokesperson, said every country has the right to define the contours of its own one China policy. Now, US-Taiwan ties have also been pretty friendly under the Biden administration. Just this week, the two sides held their first Coast Guard talks, and some experts think that Taiwan may be warming up for joint exercises with the U.S. The 4,000-ton Jai patrol vessel left the Hualien harbor on Tuesday for exercises that included the 4,000-ton Jai patrol vessel, the 1,000-ton Taidong patrol vessel, the 600-ton Anping vessel, and a 100-ton guard vessel. A local media report said they were conducting joint exercises with the U.S., but the Coast Guard administration said the exercises were to familiarize new vessels with nearby sea conditions, to plan hydraulic and route testing around the island, and that reports of U.S.-Taiwan Coast Guard exercises off the coast of Hualien are untrue. But it does not rule out future cooperation. Foreign Minister Joseph Wu said that the U.S. and Taiwan Coast Guard signed a memorandum of understanding on March 25th and set up a working group for future cooperation. This agreement and the response by Taiwan's Coast Guard administration shows that joint sea exercises between the U.S. and Taiwan Coast Guards are likely. Lawmaker Wang Ting-yu says such exercises would be enforcing marine law and so would not officially count as joint military exercises. However, such exercises would show closer ties between the U.S. and Taiwan and the forming of a structure for military alliance. The U.S. and South Korea began military drills on Tuesday. Is there a connection to future U.S.-Taiwan joint Coast Guard exercises? Defense expert Su Ziyun says that the U.S. military is making adjustments to its naval forces. The Coast Guard status enables it to play a more flexible role, and it's very possible it will conduct joint exercises with allies. That's especially as China conducts gray zone military activities in the region. The U.S. has been countering these moves by China to try to maintain peace in the Asia-Pacific. The Biden administration has also approved its first arms sales to Taiwan worth $750 million US dollars. They're going to sell us 40 of these M109A6 medium self-propelled howitzer systems, which would aid our self-defense capabilities. So what does this arms sale mean for Taiwan's Biden policy? Well, Staś Butler spoke with a prominent expert on U.S.-China ties, Bonnie Glaser, who is the head of the Asia program at the U.S. think tank, the German Marshall Fund.
So what we're talking about today is the recent sale of arms from the US to Taiwan. The US State Department has approved the sale of 40 howitzers and various other weapons on last Wednesday, to a value of around $750 million US dollars. That still has to pass through various congressional hurdles before it can go ahead, but Taiwan analysts think it should go ahead in the next month or so. I mean, what's the significance of this move, and what does it tell us, I mean, if anything, about Biden's plans for dealing with Taiwan?
Well, first it tells us that the Biden administration is complying with U.S. law, because under the Taiwan Relations Act from 1979, the president is actually obligated to sell defensive weapons to Taiwan. So the Biden administration, like all of his predecessors, will continue to sell arms to Taiwan. Secondly, I think it is evidence that the Biden administration is going to sell weapons to Taiwan as requests come in from Taipei. That is, one at a time, not necessarily bundling them into larger packages, which was what was done in the Obama administration the last time that the Democrats were in power. The Trump administration changed that practice, and the Biden administration, it looks like, will continue the practice of the Trump administration. So as Taiwan requests a weapon system, it will be evaluated by itself, not necessarily held back and potentially made public only when it's convenient or will have the least damage on the U.S.-China relationship, which was sometimes part of the U.S. approach to selling weapons.
I know that some scholars, notably Oriana Skylar Mastro, who's a former guest on this show, say that Beijing is closer to an attack on Taiwan than most analysts might expect, and that the US is not doing enough to deter Beijing militarily. I mean, while other people see this as invasion panic. I mean, what's your view on this situation?
Well, I think the majority of defense experts believe that the PLA is not yet confident that it can seize and hold Taiwan. After all, there's about 100 miles of water that the PLA would have to cross. Taiwan's geography is very inhospitable. This would not be a cakewalk, as they say. But yes, there's growing concern overall about the expanding capabilities of the PLA and the potential for Taiwan eventually having the capabilities. But the question, of course, is that the intention of China matters as well, not just the capabilities of the PLA. And my own view is that Xi Jinping's risk-benefit calculus really does fall on the side of very heavy risks, costs that China would pay if it invaded Taiwan today. I also think that China's priorities are such that it requires the deterrence of Taiwan going independent, declaring and being supported by other nations as an independent sovereign state and becoming de jure a legal independent country. That is Xi Jinping's most important priority when it comes to Taiwan, and it has been the priority of his predecessors. Reunification is a longer term goal. It is not something that Xi Jinping needs to achieve today. The risks are many. They involve potential failure, which could affect the legitimacy of the Chinese Communist Party. They involve the risk, of course, of a wider war with the United States, because China knows that the United States is quite likely to come to Taiwan's defense. Then there's the reaction of other countries. I think other countries would fear that China might become emboldened. If it used force against Taiwan, it might use force to solve other territorial disputes, and therefore other countries might decide that they need to cooperate more closely with the United States, other countries, in forming an anti-China coalition to stop China from becoming a more aggressive power, something that many countries today are really not doing. They're trying to avoid choosing between the United States and China in many cases. So I think there's actually a long list of risks that Xi Jinping faces. I think he doesn't need, for domestic reasons, to reunify with Taiwan anytime in the near future. So I think this is a question we need to pay attention to. It's not invasion panic. There could come a time when China decides that the time is right for invading Taiwan. So we do need to be prepared. We need to be prepared militarily, the United States, but also Taiwan, to deter that attack, make Xi Jinping and the PLA think twice, but also to fight if one day China does in fact use force.
Now, stepping back now for a second from Taiwan alone, how do you see Taiwan fitting into US policy for the broader Indo-Pacific region in the coming years?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because under the Trump administration, Taiwan was very explicitly identified as part of the United States Indo-Pacific strategy. We did see a report come out of the Pentagon that actually referred to Taiwan as a country, put it in the same basket with a few other countries like New Zealand and Singapore that are considered to be very important partners of the United States. That was unprecedented. We will see in the coming weeks the Biden administration issue its Indo-Pacific strategy. And one of the things I think that will be interesting to look for is how Taiwan is addressed in that strategy. But there's no doubt that a consistent component of U.S. interests and strategy in the Indo-Pacific is preserving peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. That, I think, is indisputable. That will remain central. But the question is whether the United States will continue to support a more active role for Taiwan as a player in the Indo-Pacific, which we certainly saw under the Trump administration. My guess is that the Biden administration will continue to support Taiwan as a very important actor in the Indo-Pacific region, but it might do so in a somewhat less public way than the Trump administration did.
Ms. Glaser, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
The full interview will be up on YouTube and Facebook. Next up, Leslie Liao tells you about Taiwan's vaccination situation.
Taiwan's COVID-19 vaccination program is rolling along steadily. As of recording, we're approaching around 40% of the population with at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. Here's the problem though, we might run out soon.
现在就很告急了。
Health Minister Chen Sizong's face fills with worry anytime he talks about Taiwan's COVID-19 vaccination situation. Taiwan hasn't been able to secure a steady supply of vaccines, and it's mostly relied on donations from other countries for its current stock of AstraZeneca and Moderna vaccines. A locally produced COVID-19 vaccine from Medigen Vaccine Biologics Corporation is also on the way, but some people have reservations about its efficacy. At current vaccination rates, Taiwan will soon run out of AstraZeneca and Moderna vaccines. The vast majority of people who have gotten a COVID-19 vaccine have only received a single dose. So what should they do if Taiwan runs out of vaccines come time for their second jab? Well, National Taiwan University Hospital Dr. Huang Liming says people who received the AstraZeneca vaccine can think about getting an mRNA vaccine like Moderna or BioNTech for their second shot. Taiwan has reportedly secured a deal for 15 million doses of the BioNTech vaccine to be donated by private entities. However, it's still unclear when they will arrive. On the other hand, those who received a Moderna vaccine have fewer options. Huang says those people must receive an mRNA vaccine as their second dose. Huang says whether you've had an AstraZeneca or Moderna vaccine, you can wait up to 6 months between your first and second shots before seeing a drop in protection against COVID-19. As for Taiwan's domestic vaccine, head of the Taiwan Counter-Contagious Disease Society Wang Renxian says that the vaccine is still awaiting international approval. He says before that happens, people are better off protecting themselves with masks, hand washing, and social distancing. However, no vaccine can guarantee 100% protection against COVID-19. That's why those protective measures are still absolutely necessary, even for the fully vaccinated. Over the past few days, Taiwan has received more shipments of the AstraZeneca and Moderna vaccines. Now, the Taiwanese government has a habit of announcing these deliveries at the last minute, so I believe that the situation seems a lot more dire than it actually is.
Next, Leslie Liao tells us about a dinosaur that got vaccinated in Hashtag Taiwan.
Remember that movie Jurassic Park? You know, the one about dinosaurs escaping confinement and then terrorizing people? Well, apparently, that movie is partially based on Taiwan. Previously, we talked about how dinosaurs roamed the streets during Taiwan's Wan'an drills, an event where streets have to be absolutely clear. It's okay though, because that Naughtysaurus Rex later apologized for its antics. A few months ago, I also talked about a woman who donned a dinosaur costume and danced for the gods. You want to guess what this week's Hashtag Taiwan is about? Here's a hint, it rhymes with Schminosaurs. So Taiwan is in the middle of vaccinating its population against COVID-19. We're getting to the point where around 40% of the population has at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. And when I say population, you might think I'm exclusively talking about people, but apparently that is a dinosaur getting a COVID-19 vaccine. Yup, this was the scene at a vaccination center in western Taichung. Ridiculous as it seems, Twitter user James Hill points out that the pictures must mean Taiwan's vaccination program is going so well, we're now vaccinating those between 38 and 66 million years old. The dinosaur getting vaccinated went viral because of course it did.
What's not to like?
Vaccine?
Good.
Dinosaur?
Good.
Comedy?
Good.
In all seriousness though, the person in the costume is a 38-year-old woman who goes by Miss Huang. When it came her time to get a vaccine, she thought, you know what might make this really fun? I don't have to answer that question for you, do I? Huang showed up to her vaccine appointment as a T-Rex and caught the attention of medical workers. She signed in and got vaxxed all as a T-Rex. In the video of Huang walking through the vaccination site, you can hear hysterical laughter from everyone there. But even funnier to me is the sight of a T-Rex walking to a backdrop of the vaccination site's classical music, which is meant to relax visitors. But I don't care what kind of music is playing, if I were there, this is what would be going on in my mind.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
My favorite reaction is this guy right here who's thinking, oh no, I've seen this movie before. People online went nuts saying how cute the idea is. One user asked if dinosaurs need larger doses because of their sheer size. And another person pointed out how smart this move was, considering Miss Huang could just reuse the dinosaur costume for Halloween in a few months. When asked why she did this, Ms. Huang just said she wanted to entertain the medical workers at the vaccination site. She said she wanted to give them a laugh at a time when they're stressed, tense, and under pressure to get people vaccinated. And it seemed to work because Huang left such an impression that all the staff at the vaccination site asked to take a picture with her before she left. Look, now I don't know when dinosaurs will pop up next in this show, but at this point it's inevitable. But as long as their shenanigans don't involve eating us, well then, you know, I'm down for whatever, man.
And before we leave you, here's a look at some of the other news that's on our radar.
Taiwan's largest annual war games, the Hanguang exercises, have been rescheduled for September. The exercises had been scheduled for July, but were postponed amid Taiwan's outbreak of COVID-19. The war games have been held since 1984 and test Taiwan's preparedness for a Chinese invasion attempt. Team Taiwan has just wrapped up its best Olympics to date. Taiwanese athletes won 2 gold medals, 4 silver medals, and 6 bronze medals at the Tokyo Games, placing 34th in total medals won. Taiwan has extended its level 2 COVID-19 alert to August 23rd, though authorities are easing some restrictions on swimming pools and national parks. A level 2 alert involves caps on the number of people who can attend gatherings, the wearing of masks outside the home, and the closure of certain entertainment venues. Taiwan's borders are also set to stay shut to most non-residents for the time being. Recent downpours have hit farmers in southern Taiwan hard. It's estimated that the heavy rains have caused over $7 million in damage to agriculture. However, the government is stepping up, offering relief and loans for farmers in need.
We're back in the studio again for our final question. Great to see you guys again.
Great to see you too.
And I like your masks, those dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's my favorite mask, and I was hoping I
Aw.
didn't have to wear it so soon. But you know what? Like, the occasion is perfect.
I mean, it really
It
is
is a perfect occasion. We'll buy you some more.
I hope I can find it.
Yeah.
So the final question of the day has to do with Lithuania. We know that Ime gave them tons of small mini cream puffs. What would you guys like to give Lithuania, if you could?
Mine will be whiskey.
Ooh,
So
straight from Taiwan,
I mean,
right?
yeah, straight from Taiwan. We have Kavalan whiskey, which is obviously kind of, prized around the world. I also just looked it up. Turns out Lithuanians are among the heaviest drinkers in the European Union.
Wow.
So I'm sure they would
They would hit the
appreciate
spot.
it.
Well thought out, very well thought out. Well, they're on the way here. They're about to set up an office, right? So I'd like to give them affordable rent.
Oh.
I figure that'd be a nice
Practical.
gesture to say welcome to Taiwan. We welcome your presence here, and we'd like you to stay. And we're gonna give you a nice affordable rent.
Are you some kind of magic genie? I mean,
That's very hard.
I didn't
That's
realize
the
it was.
hardest one.
It's kind of like three
That's harder
wishes.
than whiskey,
Yeah.
I
I
think.
hope so. It's just that's what I would give them.
Yeah, sure.
If I can.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a landlord. Come on, man.
So this is not very practical, but it's a lot of fun. Bobas. I would like to shower them with bobas so they can put them in their tea,
In their whiskey.
in their
Sounds
iced
sticky.
tea,
Getting showered with bobas.
in their desserts and everything. I think that would be fun and tasty. So that's all we have for you today. Thanks for tuning in to Taiwan Insider. I am Natalie Tso.
I'm Leslie Liao.
And I'm Staś Butler.
And follow us on social media. Leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you.
That's right. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube.
Or you can tweet at us. Our handle is Taiwan Insider. Anyway, guys, until next week, see you around.